You've been told bats are blind, that they're dirty, rabid, and out for your blood. Almost none of that is true. And the real story, what bats actually are, and what they actually do for us every single night is stranger, and far more urgent than the myths. Stick around. This is going to change how you see the next bat you meet. Start with the basics almost nobody has right. Bats aren't a handful of spooky species clustered in a few caves. They're an entire order of mammals, called Chiroptera, Greek for handwing, because a bat's wing really is a hand, with skin stretched between impossibly long fingers. As of last year, scientists recognize about 1,500 distinct bat species, and that number keeps climbing as researchers describe new ones in the field. That's roughly 22% of every mammal species on Earth. Only rodents beat them for sheer diversity. Bats live on every continent except Antarctica, from cool, temperate forests to the deepest, wettest tropics. If you've spent your whole life picturing one generic bat, you've been picturing about a 1/1500th of the actual picture. Myth number 1. Bats are blind. It's baked so deep into the language, we don't even question it, blind as a bat. People have used that phrase for centuries without ever checking if it's actually true. So here's the real question. Why would an animal supposedly born without sight need one of the most sophisticated sensory systems in the entire animal kingdom just to find its dinner in the dark? Here's the reality. Bats can see just fine. Most species have functional, often good eyesight, and some large fruit bats see better in low light than we do. Echolocation isn't a replacement for sight. It's an upgrade for total darkness. A bat calls out in pulses of sound, some far above what human ears can register, then reads the echoes bouncing back to build a live, three-dimensional picture of everything around it: a moth's wing beat, a branch, an open doorway. The best-studied systems work across a range of 5 to 200 kilohertz, timing the returning echo down to fractions of a microsecond. In 2026, researchers watched horseshoe bats do something remarkable in the wild, actively adjusting how they listen, in real time, to separate a single insect's echo from a cluttered, noisy background. That's not a blunt instrument. That's an incredibly precise one, refined over tens of millions of years. And here's a number that never makes it into the blind as a bat conversation. The fastest mammal alive isn't a cheetah. It isn't a pronghorn or a racehorse. It's the Mexican free-tailed bat, clocked by researchers at speeds up to 100 miles an hour in level flight, faster than any land animal on Earth. Achieved using a sense most people assume is a consolation prize for not having eyesight. Every part of that sentence should surprise you. And yet, it's been sitting in the scientific literature for years, largely unnoticed outside of bat research circles. Speed isn't the only extreme this order holds. At one end, the giant golden-crowned flying fox, wingspan over 5 feet, built almost like a small glider, gliding between fruit trees in the Philippines. At the other end, the bumblebee bat, also called Kitty's hog-nosed bat body barely over an inch long, weighing about as much as a dime. It isn't just the smallest bat. By most measures, it's the smallest mammal on the planet, period, full stop. One single order of animals contains a 5-foot wingspan on one end, and something you could lose in your palm on the other. Myth number 2, and this is the one that actually gets bats killed, that they're all riddled with rabies, ready to swoop down and bite you on sight. It's the fear behind almost every "there's a bat in my house" panic call. The reflex that leads people to reach for a broom instead of a phone. So what does the actual infection rate look like once you go and check? Fewer than 1% of wild bats carry rabies. And a rabid bat doesn't behave like the movies. The virus typically causes paralysis. An infected bat usually can't fly at all, let alone chase anyone across a yard. A grounded, obviously sick bat on the ground is a warning sign to leave alone and report, not a monster mid-attack. The actual risk to a person who never touches a bat is close to 0. And it's manageable with one simple rule that covers almost every real-world scenario. Never handle a bat with bare hands. That's it. That's the whole precaution. One more small one while we're here. Bats do not want to nest in your hair, and there's no recorded case of it actually happening the way the old wives' tale describes. When a bat swoops close to someone's head at dusk, It's not hunting you, it's hunting the cloud of insects your body heat and breath are attracting. You're not the target. You're just standing near the buffet, and the bat is simply working around you to get to dinner. Which brings us to the myth, with the best PR team in the business. The vampire bat. Fangs, blood, midnight attacks. Centuries of gothic fiction and horror movie, posters, the image is everywhere. And it's shaped how an entire order of animals gets treated. The reality is smaller, stranger, and honestly, much more interesting than the horror movie. Of the roughly 1,500 bat species on Earth, exactly 3 drink blood. 3, none of them live in the United States or Canada. And even those 3 don't attack the way the movies suggest they land nearby. Walk up on all fours, make a tiny, nearly painless nick with razor-sharp teeth, usually on a sleeping cow or pig, and lap up a small meal for about 20 minutes. Their saliva even carries a real anticoagulant scientists nicknamed Draculin, which keeps the wound from clotting while they feed. It's closer to a mosquito bite than a monster movie. The horror movie vampire bat you're picturing fangs bared, swooping at a human throat is, functionally, fiction. Here's the part almost nobody tells you. Blood isn't a very nutritious meal. And a vampire bat that goes 2 nights without feeding can literally starve to death. Its metabolism is that demanding. So if a bat comes home hungry, another bat, sometimes a relative, sometimes not even related to it at all, will regurgitate part of its own meal to keep that bat alive. These bonds don't happen randomly, and they aren't automatic. They're built slowly, over weeks, through mutual grooming. The same patient way you'd build trust with a friend, one small act at a time. Scientists studying this call it reciprocal altruism, a wild mammal keeping track, in some real sense, of who helped it and helping back when it matters. The animal our culture turned into a monster is, underneath all of that, one of the more devoted roommates in the natural world. So the myths fall apart under almost no scrutiny at all, not blind, barely a rabies risk, almost never a blood drinker. But here's the real question worth asking. If bats aren't the villain of this story, what are they actually doing out there every single night while we sleep? The answer is bigger and stranger than most people expect. A single insect-eating bat can eat 600 to 1,100 mosquito-sized bugs in 1 hour of hunting. Multiply that across a colony, and the numbers get absurd fast, 150 big brown bats. A colony that could fit in a single barn attic can eat nearly 1.3 million crop pests in a single year. Now zoom all the way out to the whole United States. Insect-eating bats are estimated to save American agriculture over $22 billion annually in pest control that would otherwise mean more pesticides sprayed, or more crops lost outright to insects. Every single night, for free, while most of us are asleep and never think about it once. Some bats skip insects entirely and go straight for nectar and their pollinators, just like bees and butterflies. Bananas, mangoes, agave. Hundreds of plant species around the world lean on bats to reproduce. Carrying pollen from flower to flower across distances insects could never cover in one night. Researchers studying one commercial fruit crop found that without bat pollination, yield dropped 35% and quality dropped 46%. That's not a marginal effect. That's the difference between a good harvest and a bad one, decided almost entirely by an animal most people have never once thanked for anything. So put it all together. This is an animal that isn't blind, mostly doesn't carry rabies, almost never drinks blood, and quietly runs a multi-billion-dollar ecological service every single night for free. And the fear built on the myths we've just taken apart, that fear has a real, measurable cost. It gets healthy bats killed in attics and barns by people who mean well. It starves conservation efforts of the public support they need to actually work. And right now, while the myths keep doing their damage on reputation alone, something much more dangerous is actually killing bats by the millions. It's called white nose syndrome, a cold-loving fungus that invades hibernating bats in caves and mines, disrupting the deep sleep they depend on to survive winter and burning through their fat reserves until they starve before spring. It doesn't care about myths. It doesn't care that these bats aren't blind or bloodthirsty or dangerous. Since it was first detected, It's driven population crashes of over 90% in some species, entire cave colonies. Thousands of individuals gone in the span of just a few winters. This isn't old news either. This year alone, 2 major hibernation sites in Minnesota recorded declines of 99% and 94% compared to pre-disease counts. Not since the disease started decades ago, this year. Of the 47 bat species across the US and Canada, a dozen have already shown symptoms, and that number has only grown as the fungus spreads to new caves each winter. This is a live, ongoing collapse, happening in real time. To an animal, most of us have spent our whole lives being afraid of for entirely the wrong reasons. It's not hopeless. Researchers are testing early treatments and expanding monitoring networks to slow the spread and catch new outbreaks sooner. And bat conservation already has real momentum behind it. Merlin Tuttle, who spent over 60 years studying bats worldwide, built his entire career on one simple bet: that if people actually understood what bats do for us, they'd stop being afraid and start protecting them instead. His proof of concept still stands in downtown Austin, Texas, where a bridge colony people once wanted exterminated is now a protected, beloved city landmark that draws crowds every summer evening to watch it emerge. So here's the actual story of the bat. Not blind, barely dangerous, almost never a vampire. Quietly one of the hardest working, most ecologically vital animals alive on this planet, and right now, one of the most endangered by a threat that has nothing whatsoever to do with any myth at all. The fear was always misplaced. The urgency never was. If you find a bat, don't panic. And don't touch it with bare hands, just leave it alone, or call a local wildlife rescue and let a trained professional handle it. If you want to help further, look up your regional bat conservation group. Most rely entirely on public support and small donations to keep doing this work. The next time you see one flicker across a streetlight at dusk, you'll know exactly what you're actually looking at. Not a monster. A survivor doing quiet, expensive work for free every single night, whether we notice or not.